guys, and welcome to my reading vlog. I'm in Jakarta for work this week, and it's been very back-to-back, so I just ordered some Grab food to the hotel. It's nasi padang, which I'm really excited about, so I'll show you in a second. I'm snacking on Cheetos while I wait, but I thought I would do a reading vlog. I'm reading a couple books right now, and I did read a little bit on the plane, but my flight was at like 9 a.m. so it's pretty sleepy, and it's not that long of a flight to begin with. So I mean, by the time you like take off and eat your breakfast, you only have like maybe 45 minutes or an hour. But anyway, I've been making headway into Singa-Pura-Pura, which is a collection of Malay speculative fiction from Singapore. So there's a bunch of different short stories in here, and they're grouped in different sections. So the sections are Spectres of Sihir, Tech Baru, Smart Mamat City, Family Nuclear, and then there's an intro and a afterword. So I'm really excited because I haven't read anything that's really focused on Malay Singaporean authors, and the opening section talks about the Sejarah Melayu, which is obviously the most influential kind of origin myth in Malay culture. So I thought that that was a cool way to frame it. And I'm pretty excited to get through all of these stories. Already, I think the quality is very wide-ranging. Some of these are really good, some of these are not so good. And I think in general, my main impression so far is they're really short. So I think short stories in some ways are easier than writing a novel, but in other ways a lot harder. Because for it to be satisfying and for it to be done well, you don't really have that much space to work with. And I think the problem with some of these is they're too short. So they just drop like these very wild or crazy ideas, but then don't have to follow through or resolve anything, especially in the short stories I've been reading that are sci-fi. One of them, called The Chip, is about aliens, and it turns out that the scientist that is trying to implant a chip in everyone is actually her father. It's like too much, and then it just ends. So very clunky, I feel. But I'll keep you updated. I'm only about, I would say, less than halfway through. So I'll let you know my favorite ones as I make my way through this. And then I have another book. So this one is more, I don't know, it feels more meaty. I guess in the sense that like each short story is a different world to enter. Whereas this other book is a lot more atmospheric for me. So I like to read this before bed and read the other one like when I have downtime or on the plane. I don't know. It's just my feeling. This other book is called Banyan Moon by Tao Tai. And I'm not that far into it. I'm at like 40 pages into it, and I'm very on the fence. Part of me feels that it really suffers from MFA writing. Like it's just overwrought and the sentences are overly fancy. To what end, right? Like, I don't know, I find that there's so many debut novels written by an author who's just done like a prestigious MFA, and they're always like describing the stars or describing the dusk, and everyone always says like dusk is their favorite favorite time of day. I don't know, I just feel like there's these tropes that get used over and over in MFA writing. And I like things that are beautifully written, but I mean, it has to be to a certain end, right? You can't just like write sentences for the sake of writing sentences. And I'm jury's out. Like, part of me is like, okay, maybe I'm being too harsh and this is good writing, but we'll see how I feel as I go along. I've been trying to like highlight sentences that I think are really like derivative almost at this point, but I don't want to be too harsh. The other thing is this novel has 3 different points of view. There's like a woman who's my age, then her mother, and then the grandmother who's kind of like on her deathbed or is in hospice. And I feel like one of the issues with MFA writing is the tone just feels the same for all 3 points of view. And we don't have to be stereotypical or condescending, but it's just hard for me to think of the like 90-year-old grandma who's speaking English as a second language and like experienced the Vietnam War is having like an interiority that's like describing dusk as her favorite time, like having this very like overwrought MFA style. I don't know. I have to think more about it, but I kind of feel like it would have been better or more impressive or more a demonstration of really good command of the craft if this author could maintain that high quality of writing, but then also differentiate between the 3 female perspectives, because it is kind of just all blending together. And these like weird metaphors or turns of phrase that I feel like are supposed to be very artsy, if they are littered throughout all 3 points of view, then I feel like there's not enough distinction between the different characters. So those are my opening thoughts on these 2 books.
Hello!
back in Singapore. I hope you enjoyed this quick reading vlog. I didn't get as much reading done as I wanted to. I really got super busy with all of my meetings, and then when you're doing in-person meetings and you fall behind on all your emails and all the other stuff. But I tried to include some fun clips, including me taking the Jakarta MRT for the first time. I took a bath in the hotel, which was really exciting for me. I walked around a fancy mall. I just had like so many meetings, like probably 5 to 6 meetings a day, and doing them in person means that you're just going to be stuck in traffic all the time. So a lot of the clips were from me being in the car. I am totally converted to Bluebird, which is the local taxi app in Indonesia. I was using Grab, but it just kept having issues and the drivers are not as good. So I'm super into using Bluebird. So there might be some Bluebird taxi footage in this reading vlog. and I didn't end up reading on the flight back. Instead, I watched The Wizard of Oz. But I'm hoping that now that I have a long weekend, I will make a dent into some of these books. And I also went nuts at the airport bookstore, so maybe I can do a bit of a haul actually. Okay, so I am on a book buying ban, but because I was so stressed out at work, I just caved and I wanted retail therapy. And honestly, I feel like when retail therapy is books, you can't feel too guilty. So I'm really trying to not buy books and just check them out from the library. But yeah, I caved, so I'll show you guys what I got. I have been really wanting to read this local Indonesian magazine called Tempo. So I got last week's copy and this week's copy. It's in Bahasa Indonesian though, so I'm not going to be able to read this, well, A, at all, but B, I hope a little bit and just very slowly. But I'm really excited about those. But for books, I did go a little bit nuts. I don't know. I just was so stressed out and I was like, you can't feel bad buying books. So I bought 2 books that I feel like don't even count because they're like for work, I feel. So Blood and Silk, which I've tried to read in the past but never finished. This is by Michael Vatikiotis, who's a journalist, and it's about, the subtitle is Power and Conflict in Modern Southeast Asia. So I think I'll try to actually finish it this time. It just felt very much like it was told from the point of view of a Western journalist, but I'll give it another shot. Then this is kind of a primer, I feel like. It's the 14th edition of Southeast Asia, An Introductory History by Milton Osborne. I have no idea if this is good, but since I cover Southeast Asia, I thought I should read this. We'll see if I actually get around to it. I'm not a big nonfiction person, but maybe. Then I've heard so much about the Jakarta method. This was actually recommended to me a lot like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and I think that this is going to be really good because 2 of the people that recommended it to me kind of described it as like mind-blowing. So this one I might read first. And then this I thought was so interesting. This is called People from Bloomington by Budi Dharma, and basically it's written by an Indonesian author who lived in Bloomington, Indiana as a graduate student in the 1970s. So it's a short story collection, which is far from an idyllic portrait of a small town America. And the back cover says that this is the first English translation of a short story collection about Americans in America by one of Indonesia's most beloved writers. So I'm really curious about what perspective this is going to bring, but I thought that was like a really interesting concept. Basically, the Periplus near my gate in the airport was incredible, which you can see from like the short clip. They just had a section with all book talk books. They had a section with all books about Indonesia. They had a section with like self-help and psych books. They had a section that was like art books, and it wasn't even that big, but they just had such a well-curated selection of different niches. And yeah, I obviously got sucked into the Indonesia section, but I feel like it's okay because A, it's books, and B, it's like work-related books. So thanks for watching this. Let me know if you like this type of video, and I'll see you in the next one.